Hello, and welcome back to the Pure Nintendo Podcast. This is your weekly dose of all things Nintendo. My name is Jemma, and I'm fortunate enough to be joined by two excellent friends this week. First of all, I have with me Kirk. Welcome back, Kirk.
Hey, it's good to be back. Sorry I missed last week.
Yeah, we missed you last week, but we're glad to have you back. And this week we have a long time podcast enthusiast and also the Pure Nintendo head honcho, but we haven't seen you on the show for a while. Welcome back, Justin. How are you?
Thank you. Yeah, doing well. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, well, we always love to get you on, especially when it's Zelda related. So today we're going to be dedicating a big chunk of time to Echoes of Wisdom since that's just come out. And we've been playing with it, and, we're going to see what our thoughts are so far. And we'll also get into some other news and games when time allows. But yeah, let's kick things off because it's kind of come around quickly, and my kids were saying this as well, but I know the game was only announced, Echoes of Wisdom. Was it in the June Direct or something? It wasn't that long ago, right?
Yeah.
When was this? Yeah.
Yep.
So we haven't really been waiting that long. But conversely, it also feels like we've been waiting forever for a new top-down Zelda game. So I am pretty ready to gosh because I'm pretty much enjoying this a lot. But I really don't want to. I want to start with you guys. So we're going to give a spoiler warning when we get to anything spoilerish, but we haven't finished the game, so we'll let you know as we talk if there's something that could be considered a spoiler. But let's start with our first impressions. Would Justin like to start since you're the Zelda enthusiast? I'm really keen to hear what you think so far about Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah. Early on when I was playing it, that intro sequence is really fun. Where, I think we've seen the initial cutscene that's been in the trailers. And so I
Mm.
was kind of expecting that there wouldn't be much playable. It's just going to be kind of just a video. It shows Link get swallowed up, but being able to actually fight I guess you even play kind of the lead up to that kind of Ganon battle and seeing Zelda and the crystal and all this other stuff. So I thought that was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
It felt a little Metroid like where you're all kind of kitted out, right? Like you have the sword, you have the bow and arrow, and you're like, wow, cool, I got all this stuff, and then
Yeah.
they
All the
take it all
hearts.
away from you. Yeah.
Yeah, all the hearts.
And it's like, no, just kidding. You're not gonna have this. But I thought that was fun. I will say there were a couple things that were a little. I'm really enjoying it, but early on the echoes, like I guess just before you get the sword ability, I don't think
Mm.
that's spoilery since they've had that in a
Yeah,
trailer.
yeah.
Um, I was kind of expecting like, oh, maybe that sword ability is going to be later on, like maybe halfway through the game, and it was kind of funny, like leading up to that first dungeon. I was like, man, I'm really kind of tired of just spawning rocks and throwing them at things, and um, so it was nice that they have that sword ability pretty early on. I'm still not
Mm.
quite sure how I think about the needing the little energy things to replenish it. I'm
Mm.
sure we can. I think I've already upgraded some of it, but and maybe there'll be a point where it's just kind of maybe on a timer and it cools off. Or anyways,
Mm.
I would like to use that mode a bit more, but I understand why they've done it the way they've done it. But and I am a little bummed to see the frame rate issues that plagued Link's Awakening remake on the Switch. So yeah, there's just a lot of slowdown that I was experiencing.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
So, anyways, those are kind of the two issues I've had, but otherwise, I've been enjoying it more and more as I go, and
Mm.
yeah, so we'll see.
Sounds good. How about you, Kirk? What's your first impressions of Echoes of Wisdom?
Well, I'll echo what Justin said, in that I thought it was kind of fun that we started off as Link,
Hmm.
all ready to go, and it doesn't last long. And then, as once we become Zelda, we're down to 3 hearts, and
Yeah.
um, just the weirdest abilities to like start a game with. because you're coming up on your first enemy, and I just want to go at it with a sword, and I can't.
Yeah.
So it was like they teased us with being able to use spin attacks and stuff, and then suddenly
Mm.
no, you're just you got to throw something at it. I thought it was funny to like. I had a thought: if I don't have a sword, how am I going to be chopping down grass to get the rubies?
Yes.
But they addressed that pretty quickly too by giving us the spin ability that
Mhm,
Zelda
mhm.
has, and so I spent a lot of time just kind of spinning through grass, hoping and seeing what I can find.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Me too.
so I don't know how far ahead I want to get because I'm looking at our agenda and I know we have some things that we're going to talk about anyway. But I
Yeah.
did enjoy. I made it up through the first, and I'm sure we'll explain this. The first,
Mhm.
another as they call it, and the first dungeon, and enjoyed the whole process. Aside from a couple little hiccups that I think we'll talk about as we get into more of the game's quirks.
Cool. Yeah, well, I completely agree with you both. I thought that intro was very entertaining and fun. I loved being Link. Zelda. I loved being Link from the beginning. I thought that was really cool. You're maxed out. You get to do the Ganon battle, and I've just felt awesome. I'm like, yes, I'm taking on Ganon. I'm the best. And you know what's going to happen because it is in the trailer. So we know obviously that Link and Ganon both get sucked into the rift there, and Zelda's left in her little crystal, but Link takes his arrow out and shoots her right before he goes down. And I love that she's just sitting there chilling, kind of, and you have to wiggle the control stick to get her out.
Mhm.
It's a really neat little touch. And then yeah, you're Zelda, and I think the intro was cool where you go to the castle, you meet, and I don't want to get into the story too much, but this is obviously the very beginning of the game. But you start to meet some of the characters. You again in the trailer we did see what happened to the king, so we kind of know where that's going. Um, but I thought just mentioning Link again briefly, he features a lot more than I expected in the game. So let's see where we're up to. I'm up to the second dungeon, so I've gone to the desert, to the Garuda Desert, and there's a whole cool thing that happens over there, which I won't get into too much detail, but essentially, people keep talking about Link along the way, and um, we've seen this kind of dark shadow Link in the trailer as well. So, he appears in the first dungeon, and then he appears again actually in the second dungeon. So, there's a lot of linkages, if you want, which is cool. I like that it's not he's not forgotten. He's just not disappeared. He's there and he's quite visible, and he's part of because he's part of the whole series. Like he's a big part of the series, just as Zelda always is as well. So it's kind of the opposite of what we usually see, which is where we play as Link and then we hear a lot about Zelda and what's happening with Zelda and where's Zelda and let's go rescue Zelda. So I like that he's yeah, he mentioned a lot. But I really wanted to mention the music and the visual style. Now, Justin, you mentioned some like stuttering. I didn't
Mhm.
notice that too much, but did you have any of those issues, Kirk?
It's funny because I just read that today, and
Hmm.
that people were talking about that. And if there was, I didn't notice it either. Maybe I haven't gotten into anything where that would manifest yet. But if there was anything, it went by undetected.
Yeah, whereabouts was this? Is there an obvious place we could think of, Justin, that we could see
Yeah,
this?
the forest was probably the worst. So when you're kind of cruising through there to that first kind of waypoint,
Hmm.
um, yeah, like, and I don't know. I remember back with Link's Awakening, some people were theorizing. Some people had more issues if the game was stored on like a micro SD card or on the system's local storage, if it
Mm.
was a digital copy, or if it was a physical copy, like some people didn't have any issues, and then it kind of varied if it was in handheld or docked mode.
Mm.
But anyways, I've played handheld and docked, but I guess docked mode is when I've been noticing it the
Oh,
most.
okay. Yeah.
Katie was watching me play, and I was like, "Oh, Katie, the frame rate issue is still here." And I was just showing her, and she's like, "Oh, like she saw the." It was kind of like how like in older Zelda games, each square you would go to the edge of it and then it would load the next square, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it almost feels like I'm getting to like the edge of something and it's trying to load in the next thing a little bit, but it's trying to do
Right.
it a bit more seamless, but it's not fully seamless. So
Wow.
but part of that just makes me want the Switch 2 more than ever. Like,
Yeah.
maybe that'll smooth out some of uh, those issues. Like maybe some games will just kind of get some performance enhancements. It's possible that they would need a patch or something, but I'm hoping there will just be some, out of the box. You can play all the Switch One games, and there's just going to be better.
Mm. Yeah. And are you playing, is it a physical card or did you download
It's
it?
it's digital. Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if it's on the system memory or my SD card though. I was gonna double check that, but
Yeah. And you've got the physical card, Kirk, I assume?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
mhm.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
I haven't noticed it myself, but maybe my eye is not as keen as yours.
yeah. Well, and so do you have the physical card too, Gemma?
I don't. I downloaded it. I used the voucher in the end. So I've got the two games for in Australia it's 130 something.
Yeah,
So yeah, I used one of those. Mm.
nice. That's what I did. I did the voucher route. But yeah, I
Yeah.
think it was kind of similar where the physical didn't have as much issue last time. I don't know, but
Mm.
yeah, I like. There's I've been used to playing like Rocket League and some of these other games that you can play at like 120 frames per second.
Mm.
So I don't know if I've just gotten used to
Maybe.
some of these faster things. So then if it's sub 60, then I'm like, ooh, that. Anyways,
Yeah. Well, I'll keep an eye out for it and see if I notice anything. I really didn't, but I don't tend to. I mean, unless it's really obvious and it's something that's like jarring, I don't
mm-hmm,
tend to notice too much. Like I have a pretty big TV. Anyway, we'll see. But it's obviously a thing. If other people are talking about it, it's a thing that's occurring.
yeah,
So yeah, very interesting. And maybe mine is stored on the system memory as opposed to the SD card. I'm not sure either. I had to clear some stuff out to download it. It wasn't too big a download, to be
mm-hmm,
honest, compared to some other games recently that have been surprisingly large, like really big. This one wasn't too bad. And do either of you did the music stand out to anyone else? Because I just really enjoyed some of the tunes, and I know you guys aren't at the desert yet, but in particular, the Garuda Desert dungeon really stood out to me. It's just got this really cool new sound that I love, and I kind of wish Trevor was here because he always loves the soundtrack.
yeah.
But what do you guys think of the audio so far?
My big thought on that was that there is some music cue. I don't remember exactly when I heard it. It was maybe in the first dungeon, maybe in the forest outside of it, but it sounded almost verbatim like one of the tracks from Tron, Wendy Carlos's Tron soundtrack. I swear I could play it for you.
Really?
You'd be like, yeah, yeah, I heard that. I mean, and
Yeah.
that I was thrilled about that because
Yeah.
it was good. Yeah, I thought the music was good. Even aside from that, and my
Mm,
mental callback to something completely non-related.
yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe it's an homage
But
to
yeah,
Tron.
and that could be. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to see how that changes because that's always been one of my favorite things about the Zelda games was the tonal shifts in
Mm.
the various locations and depending on what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Um, how about you, Justin? Any comments on the audio side of things?
Yeah. The music's been great. There was it seemed like when you come out of maybe the first dungeon or something, it felt like there was like a classic Zelda theme or something that started
Mm,
playing. That was fun. That was kind of the first time I really took notice of the music. Like Zelda games always do really well with the sound effects too, and just the
mhm.
like those audio cues of opening a treasure chest or oh there's enemies around me or those types of things. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, it's been good so far, and it does remind me a lot of like old 2D Zeldas a little bit, like
Mhm.
Link's Awakening. Just
Yes,
some
yeah.
interesting. I don't know. I don't know. Short sounds. I don't know. Like it has kind of these abrupt but short little type songs that was typical on the handheld style Zelda games.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree, definitely. No, I'm loving it. And I have to go back to what you said, Kirk, about the grass cutting, because I had the exact same thought at the start.
Mhm.
I'm like, how am I going to mow these grass? And then you can just press the R button, the shoulder button, and you can
Yeah.
spin. And so I spin everywhere. I don't know if it's faster, but because you can't roll, right? You can't do your forward roll to move more quickly. You can't run or whatever. So I don't know if spinning is actually faster, but I spin. I just spin
Yeah.
everywhere.
It's like the
Feels
equivalent of
faster.
constantly jumping when you're Link and
Yeah.
you're just bounding
Yeah.
across Hyrule in like Tears of
Yeah.
the whatever the tears were from. But yeah, so yeah,
Yeah.
it's just more fun. Go through life spinning. Why not?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And she
Mhm.
doesn't get dizzy. She doesn't stop. She's forever twirling, 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 twirling. Wasn't that a Simpsons reference, Justin? Twirling,
Yes.
twirling, twirling.
Yes.
Oh, that was the aliens who were Bill Clinton and
Yeah.
Bob Dole, wasn't it?
Yes.
I love it.
Man.
Yeah. No, it's going really well. So the story, I guess, we can't get into too much, obviously, because we're not through it, but we know that the premise is that Zelda is, well, I mean, we saw in the trailer that she was in a dungeon at some point, which I was surprised how that happened, but she does get arrested. And I do love that most of the people are like, "Oh no, Zelda, what? She's not causing the rifts. Like that's not a thing that she would do, but we're going to put her in jail anyway because, we've been told to." And
Mhm.
then, I like the way they introduce the echoes because you're in this little cell. You obviously meet Try, your kind of little fairy helper, I suppose. She's a bit like a fairy. And I was, interested at the way they introduced that, but she's got that little tail of triangles after her.
Mhm.
The three little triangles, which is the number of echoes that you can use, which I didn't
Mhm.
realize at first. I
That's
was
really
actually,
cool.
Oh, I didn't
yeah,
recognize that either. Yeah, like I
yeah,
just got four at the end of the first dungeon, and I noticed it, but didn't.
yes,
Okay,
yeah,
great,
Yeah.
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think the way they introduced that just by, what did you copy a stool, I think, in the dungeon there, and then you use that to get out as you do, and then you meet Impa, which was cool. So there's a lot of characters that we know. Is Sorry, was someone going to say something just then? No.
Yeah, I had a
Yes.
question.
Yes.
That hoping either of you can answer. Does it seem to you like Zelda does not know who Link is in this game?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It does.
Am I right in that? Because everyone else is talking about him, but she kept referring to him as like a soldier or something.
Yeah, the green clad warrior or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in a timeline where she doesn't know who he is? Justin, do you have any theories on that?
Yeah, I there has been a couple callbacks that I've seen. When you get to the desert, did it look like a Link to the Past at all, Gemma? There's kind of those ruins of, you know how they have like these three mouths and like their
Oh,
tongues
yeah.
come out, and they have staircase that goes up into them. So basically, the dungeon in the desert area in A Link to the Past, it looks like it's kind of in ruins. So I'm like,
Mm.
okay, so is this going to be beyond A Link to the Past in the timeline, or um,
Mm.
so yeah, it's possible that, and even Ganon is very similar to his A Link to the Past
Yeah. Yeah, he
design,
is. Yeah.
um, and the trident, and all of that. So um, yeah, it could be that he is just kind of this soldier, and yeah, he's not really well known, and the Triforce and all that stuff hasn't really been revealed to Zelda. But
Interesting. Yeah, and my son actually commented on Ganon saying that's not Ganon because he's only seen Tears of the Kingdom Ganondorf. I'm
yeah,
like, well, this is kind of the more traditional looking Ganon. Yeah, which I thought was cute.
yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting. So it could be that. Yeah, I definitely did notice that as well, Kirk. She doesn't seem to know who he is. She doesn't even know his name. A lot of people don't know his name until you get to, I guess, on your way to the dungeon area. And then people start oh no, it's in that little village that you go on the way to the forest, isn't it? They
Yeah,
know
because like he's
he's
from
from
there,
there.
right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And then is Impa's brother a character that we know of previously?
that was a new one for me.
Yeah. I thought so too. I'm like, oh, Justin would know. I should know, but I don't recall seeing him
Yeah,
before. So that was interesting. Yeah. So
He
he's
does.
yeah.
He kind of reminded me of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where you had the kind of the scientist family. There's like the girl and then
Mm,
the older guy, and so his design reminds me of some of the scientist-like characters, NPCs they typically have.
hmm Yeah. And there was the left and right. The was it the general and the minister? Did you get that? Left and right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And yeah, she was on the left and he was on the right.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, okay, yeah. I was like, I was like, naming wise, they're being pretty basic so far. Try and left and
Yes.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, how far into the Gerudo Desert are you, Justin? Have you met the chief or been to the village there or anything like that?
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
cool.
met the chief and was starting to do the kind of the three other little things around that. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool, cool. Yes, I've done the three things. So yeah, you'll get to the dungeon after that. Well, let's talk about the echoes then, because that's kind of the main gimmick. And I was thinking about the series and how Link usually there is some kind of new gimmick in these games, right? Something that Link can do. So this isn't different. It's different. It's a new gimmick, but it's not unheard of that we have something new to try. It just happens to be Zelda who's doing it. Um, so what do we think of the echoes? What I think initially is because we were worried it was going to be hard to change between them, a bit like the arrows, adding to the arrows in Tears of the Kingdom. And at first I thought they introduced it really well. And there's like, okay, there's just a stool. Okay, there's a stool and a pot or whatever, or a crate, whatever was the second one. And then there's, then you start to get some enemies. You get the little jelly, and it's really easy. You get the bat, you get the keys,
Mhm.
and it's pretty quick and easy to change between them relatively. And then you start to get a lot, right? So Justin, you're probably similar to where I am. You got a
Mhm.
lot
Yeah.
happening, a lot of enemies in particular now, and like two types of beds, and
Yeah.
like
Yes.
four types of jars. Like I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever spawned a jar before. What is it? What are the jars for?
I don't know.
um,
Yeah.
yeah. So what do we think? Anything you want to say about that? Maybe Kirk. How are you going with the echoes so far?
It's not my favorite. I don't like when I come to a chest and I see that it's right there and I should just be able to climb a ladder or jump. And there's always like a puzzle to get to them. But now the
Mhm.
puzzle is me digging through my inventory
Mhm.
and coming up with the most efficient way to stack things on top of each other to get there. I really don't like having to do that. It
Mhm.
makes me not want to do it, but I have to
Right.
do it because there's a chest and I'm not going to leave it. Or like even when I was in the, you know what, I need to apologize too. I referred to the still world as the another. And that's because the game I'm going to talk about later has almost the exact same thing, and they refer to it
Oh,
as the
okay.
another. So that's why I called it that.
Mhm.
I was jumping ahead in
Ah,
my
yeah,
head
yeah.
to the wrong game. But yes, the still world.
Mhm.
Like there was a ledge off to the right. And I couldn't see. Maybe it was just like a blue rupee. I
Mhm.
think. And I'm like, do I want to bother like stacking beds and stuff and trying to get this? And I it slows down. It slows down the game for me. It makes me stop and take too much time to do something I shouldn't have to take too much time to do. Now I'm sure the game is going to compensate for it because, like I said, I'm enjoying it so far, um, and I don't mind like summoning the creatures that I've caught to do my battling for me. In fact, they do certain little things to make that easier that I kind of like putting you up on a ledge where you can't be hit, so you can think about it real quickly and
Mhm.
drop things down to do the damage, and you're kind of safe. So I like that up front. It eases you into the system that way, but I don't want to have to do it just to travel.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, I haven't. It was only relatively recently in my journey through Echoes of Wisdom that I did start to feel overwhelmed by the number of echoes that I have, and it'd be nice to have some kind of archiving system or grouping system, maybe, to put all the
Yeah.
jars together, all the enemies together. You can filter it by type, I suppose, or different, what is it? It's by when you got it, like when you found the echo, by how often you use the echo, by type of echo. Like it puts all the enemies together, it puts all the beds together. Did you guys notice you might not have this bed? No, you won't, Kirk, I don't think, because it's from the desert. You've got the second bed, Justin, and if you lie in the bed, you recover hearts.
Okay. That's I
Yeah,
was I was actually wondering. I haven't actually used it yet, but it's like, oh, it's a softer bed, and so I'm like, oh, I
yeah,
wonder if you actually, because I've tried lying in the other bed, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, what's
yeah.
the point of
It
this? You know,
doesn't. Yeah.
I think the first bed does too. I laid down on it, the first
really?
one, and recovered hearts. It took a
Maybe it took.
while.
Oh,
Like you
maybe
have
it
to
took
lay
too
there for a
long.
bit. So maybe it's
Yeah,
Yeah.
just faster
Okay.
on the other ones. Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
faster bed. Nice.
I must have given up on the
Well,
first bed.
sure. A better mattress going to give you better sleep, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
So in the second dungeon, a few times I'm like pulling out of bed, having a little rest. And then the enemies are like not leaving me alone. I'm like, no, let me, I'm trying to rest here. Come on.
Did you guys read the interview with the development team for Echoes of Wisdom that came out over the last few days?
I did read some of that. Yes. Did you?
Yeah, I didn't read the whole thing, but I did read a part where they were talking about the beds and like, so can you, like, if you're fighting a boss, can you pull out the bed? And they're like, yeah, sure, you know. And they were all like laughing and joking about it. Like, I've
Yeah.
never had a boss battle where I could fall asleep in the middle of it. Or,
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is
just give me
funny.
10
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
I can see, so I definitely can see maybe two sides to this where some people are going to be like Kirk who very much don't enjoy this mechanic. I certainly, I love using it to get to treasure chests, for example. Like you said, I haven't had any issues with that. I find it kind of challenging, like in the sense that it's a problem to solve and I want to solve it. So it's like, for me, it's like, no, I need to do this. I need to work out because you only have 3 or 4 echoes. Like I've got 4 now. You start off with 3. It's like you said, you have to kind of like it's too tall for like a stool and a crate. And then the tree is too tall for you to jump from the crate to the tree. So how do you do 2 crates? Do you do a
Mhm.
stool, crate, get rid of the stool, put another crate, put a stool on top of that? Like you got to kind of sometimes you got to get rid of them. I find it quite fun to do. I don't know
Yeah,
why. What do you think, Justin?
yeah. I early on, I was a little ambivalent about it. I was like, okay, this is maybe wearing out its welcome a little bit. Once I got the sword power up, I was like, okay, there's a bit more diversity here,
Mhm.
and if I do get into some crazy combat situation, I can use that. I did discover. Did you guys get the P hat?
I did not.
No. What is that?
So it's an echo that is an enemy, and it's one of the earliest like 3 triangle enemies you can get. I happened to just like I was just kind of like cruising around doing my completionist thing where I'm like, oh well, I don't want to go into that rift yet. I want to see what's over here. And there was a
Yeah.
little area that's just past the forest before the first rift that you can fall down, and there's like 2 torches on either side of this cave, and you go in there, and it's all that's in there is basically this kind of big enemy, and you can get it as an echo, and it's kind of an OP echo. It's basically it's like one of those Deku scrubs that has like the clover that it like spins on top of it, but then has spikes that fly out as it spins from the bottom of it. So, and the spikes are pretty long. So like and it just spins around and goes around the whole area. So if I'm surrounded by enemies, I just summon the P hat, and that thing like just takes them out. It's kind of
Oh, no,
OP.
that's cool.
But
I'm gonna have to try to get that's
so yeah, that was like if there are some of those kind of hidden echoes that like, hey, are kind of off the beaten path. You have to go into some cave and like, oh yeah, here's this really unique enemy that you can get an
mm,
echo like that. That's kind of fun. So
yeah.
hopefully there's more of those types of maybe like rare echoes that like, oh wait, I didn't even find that. What is that? Where'd you get that? So
Yeah, that's cool.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, a lot of I echo. I mean, we're going to use echo a lot in this, I think.
Yeah.
But I echo a lot of what Kirk was saying, and you were saying, Gemma, that like the more you get, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be. I guess I've kind of gotten used to it. I haven't altered the sorting, but it seems like it does the recent ones at the far left, but then your new ones go at the far right. So, but you can move your joystick just once to the left, and it goes to the far right, right? Like it kind of wraps around.
Yes. Yeah.
So I've gotten used to that of like, okay, and every time I get a new Echo, I hold right on the D-pad and hit left, and then I've got them there. It's like, okay, that's fine. And then when I use it, then it's at the far left, and I can get to it,
Yeah.
because it does seem like there's stages of Echoes that you're progressively unlocking, and you're like, oh, well, maybe I did the little stool, but well, now the trampoline's the thing I would use, right? Like
Oh, I love
there's
the trampoline. Yeah.
yeah, trampoline is it's an OP stool.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But
Trampoline, as I like to say. So
right, like I remember doing like 3 of the stools early on, where you could create like, okay, one, and then you create a stack of 2, right, and then you can get up to something higher.
Mhm.
And now I'm doing that with 3 trampolines to get higher. But anyways,
That's hilarious.
so
Yeah.
like you said, I hope there's a way to, I don't know, yeah, like you archive, or like, I'm not going to use the stool anymore. Just give me the trampoline.
Yeah.
That's going to be that. And then like, nah, I'm not going to use these enemies. I got these enemies now. I'm gonna spawn them.
Because they have level 2 of some enemies, so, like, they're getting stronger
Yes.
as you go, so
Yeah.
you're not gonna really need the level 1 enemies much,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
And
I
actually,
yeah.
yeah, I actually stumbled upon some of those level 2 ones. I luckily didn't die. I had like a fairy or something that saved me, and I was kind of able to dance around and finally take them out. But those level 2 ones were no joke. I was like, I should not be here.
Yeah. Yeah, was that in the corner, like, the top, like, northwest of the desert? Is that
Yes.
what you
Yeah.
yeah, I went to there as well. I was like,
Yeah.
"I know I
Because
need to
I
go
was,
south,
yeah.
but I'm gonna go north and see what's up here." So
Yeah. I was up high, and then I saw a treasure chest down there, and I dropped down.
Mhm.
Big mistake. But
Yeah. And that's when
Do the
you can,
echoes get smarter?
um,
hmm.
stronger,
So
maybe. Yeah.
That was another source of frustration for
yeah.
me, because when I call out, what's the dude called who throws the spear?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. Is it
yeah,
a
like a
moblin or
moblin
something?
or moblin. I
There's a
don't know.
spear moblin.
It
Yeah.
Yeah.
was just so dumb, and I'm yelling at him
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he's not throwing in the right direction, or he's
Yes.
not throwing at all,
Yeah.
or he's just standing there ignoring the enemy. And so
Yes.
if I have to call somebody up to do my battles for me, and
Yeah.
and that person or that echo is a moron, then that's another thing that's
Yeah.
frustrating me. Like I have no control over it, so I just have to sit there and call them back, and maybe go to a different angle and do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I do
so
that
the
with
weird,
the, what's the
yeah.
armadillo? The caramadillo? I
Yeah,
use him a lot, and I kinda just aim it at the person and just spawn it. They hit them, and then I spawn it again. Like, I can do 2 because 'cause they're worth 2. I've got 4. So I do armadillo, and then I just respawn them and kinda like rapid fire towards the enemy.
Have you guys used you can use the left trigger to lock on with the,
Yes, the
yeah.
ZL? Yeah. Is it ZL?
yes.
Yeah.
And that's
Yes.
been helpful, Kirk, later on. I don't know that they're getting smarter, but maybe I'm just using the ZL more, because like,
Mm.
oh, that was another weird thing. You can pick them up, and like
Yeah.
the spear guy, when I picked him up, he was throwing faster, or like
Oh,
I don't know
Oh,
why,
that's
but
interesting. I
I
haven't
didn't even
tried
think
that.
of that, because like sometimes he would just be
yeah,
not at the right angle around a
yes,
rock
yeah,
to be
Yeah.
able to throw it, and he's too stupid to move a little bit to the left. So
yeah,
the spear kept hitting the rock. Yes, I can pick him up and move him where I want him to be. Thank you.
yeah.
Mm.
All right.
I use
I
the
know.
Well,
Dark Nut a lot. The Dark Nut, he's pretty
yeah,
strong. Yeah,
yeah.
he's a
The
bit
The one with
dark
slow.
the
matter.
axe, or
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
Okay. Yes, I've
Yeah.
used him too.
And I do actually think they are getting smarter, Kirk. Now that I'm thinking about it, so that initial like spear enemy, I remember walking up to him, and I was literally like right next to him, but I was perpendicular to him, right? Like, so he was looking just ahead of him, and he didn't see me like literally right to the left of him.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of the same way when you spawn him. If the enemy's not right directly in front of him, I don't think he throws. And so then when I actually picked him up, and I think then he actually sees the enemy. But some of the other enemies that I've gotten, they're much more aggressive, and they're moving like they're adjusting their path more readily to your movements.
Mm.
So I do think they are maybe not smarter, probably a little bit smarter and faster too.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I
they
still
could
like
get
to
more
spawn. I just rapid fire kisses at people because they're worth 1 point and they can fly and they just
yeah.
Did you guys, when you got that worm thing that's like hiding in the grass,
Yeah.
did you burn it out like I did? It took
yeah.
forever, but just slowly watch the fire spread until it hit him.
I did
Yeah.
actually with that little white jelly guy with the fire.
Yeah.
Right, he's handy.
I
You can
didn't actually
also
try that. That's a clever way to
yeah,
do it.
and you can burn the mummies as well when you get to them. Kirk, you can burn the
Ah.
mummies with
Okay.
this with the fire guy too. Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah,
really
I've
cool.
been burning a lot of things.
Burn, baby, burn.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so mixed opinions there, but I think generally we seem to like it.
Yeah.
Justin and
Yeah.
I maybe more so. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
like. I can see some more promise in it. Like I'm hoping there's even some more layers to it as it goes, and I'm sure there will be. But yeah,
Mm,
it is interesting so far. I hope that there's not too much traversal things you have to do with it. But
yeah. You know the path blade, it's called? It's like the little thing that sits on the ground and goes left to right. It's got spikes on it. It's like moves forward really quickly. Have you got that thing yet? I didn't know it was called this. I don't know if it's always been called this, but it's that when you're in a dungeon and you walk past it and it quickly comes and hits you
oh
with its spikes.
yes, uh-huh.
So when I fought Link again in the second dungeon, I spawned a bunch of these things. I'm like, yeah, Link, how do you like it? Because I've always hated those things.
Oh, that's
Well, we know
awesome.
Link doesn't like it because we were him
Yeah.
dealing with him before. He's like, wait, I'm on the other side now and I can't catch a break.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's cool. Any other echoes you wanted to highlight or anything else you wanted to say about echoes? Because I feel like that was a pretty robust conversation there. I think we had a lot to say about echoes. Well, what about the bind ability? Because that's another new thing for a top-down Zelda game. It's very much like the fuse, I suppose. Would you say? Kind of. You're not
Yeah.
fusing things, but you're grabbing
Yeah.
onto things. Um, it works pretty well, I think. I don't know. I've got no issues with it. How about you guys? What do you think? Kirk, maybe?
I've only used it in the first dungeon, but I
Mhm.
like it because it feels more to me like a traditional puzzle solving
Mm.
ability.
Mhm.
Like they built the puzzle specifically because you're going to be able to move this rock or carry this up this ramp by using that. So I like that a lot more than the usage of the echoes.
Yeah, some pretty clever usages of it too. Like there's one where you have to move a statue, but you have to go up some stairs and then get it around a corner. And it's like to trigger something that you can't reach, like trigger a little button.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that was fun. So what do you think, Justin? You enjoying the bind ability?
Yeah, yeah. The bind ability has been pretty slick, and then they even what's the other like you can hold the right bumper to have it follow or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
that was an interesting kind of twist. So I wonder if there's some other layers to these
Mm.
abilities, like the
I feel like I've
echoes.
only done that one once in that one was it in the first
Yeah,
dungeon? When you kind of
I think
using
so.
it to hover, like, to grab onto the things that are hovering above you and you can go left and right. I have to
Yep.
tell you, tell me if this is a bit sadistic, but I use the bind on enemies just when I'm in the overworld, and I just hold them in place, and then my Dark Knight will just attack them.
Ah,
Because you can
that
do
could,
that. So if there's an
yeah.
enemy that just won't stand still, you just bind it. Like especially in the desert when there's those jumping piranha fish things or that mummy that screams at you. You just hold it with your bind, your X button, and then the Dark Knight or whomever you're using will just attack it, and it can't it can't attack. It feels a bit cruel, but it works really well. So,
Yeah.
It's like you're using the force.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I feel a bit mean, but sometimes they're just annoying. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
um,
The
yeah,
dark side of the bind.
yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit. And then sometimes, like you guys kind of alluded to earlier, it's just easier to trigger the what's link mode called when you're soldier mode, whatever. What do you call
Sword,
that?
sword, sword
Sword
master, sword
sword
master.
master, yeah. So then it's just easier. Sometimes there's just enemies that you just don't want to throw things at. You just like quickly go into sword mode and then take them out and then go back. But I'm like, you have to use it sparingly because the meter goes down pretty fast, I
It
think.
is, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they don't always have the little gems floating around to replace
yeah.
it. I wish there
No.
was like a time lapse where after a
Yes.
while, like the Master Sword in
Yeah,
Tears of the Kingdom, where if you use it too much,
yeah.
um, it won't work. But then you just pick up a different sword and use it, and then eventually your Master
Mm.
Sword is back at full power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought that's what they would do, but they obviously
Yeah.
haven't done that. I noticed in the still world there is a lot more of those little floating things, or there are a lot more of
Yeah.
those floating things that you can grab. Because I don't know if they expect you to use it more there, maybe, but also Link, like, sorry, not Link. You're not technically Link, are you? You're just Zelda, Sword Zelda, or are you emulating Link at that point when you're in the sword mode? I
It
can't
does look
tell.
like
It
you
does
do
look like
look
Link,
like
right?
Link. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like,
Because
you're
Link,
almost. Mm.
yeah, if I can call him Link, I guess, or sword version of Zelda, you jump higher. So I noticed in the still world,
Hmm.
it's because of where I was using it. When I was making my stalls and my crates and whatever, I could jump. I just like, oh, I don't need an extra stool here. I can just jump into sword mode and I can jump. I can make that jump a lot more easily. So that was another little hack, I guess. Because yeah.
Did you notice that the jump that Link can do is it's sort of like a front flip that he did when you get the Rock's Feather in
Mm-hmm.
Link to the Past. So that's a fun little throwback to that.
Yeah. Do we like having that jump ability from the get go? Like obviously Zelda needs it because she's climbing all over the place, but it's not something we usually see straight up in a 2D Zelda game, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
love having the jump. I think it's
Mm. It adds a whole another dimension, like a whole another level to things because you could literally jump up on levels. What do we think about the side quests? And have we got the drinks? I'm assuming Justin has because you've been in the desert in the oasis area there. You've got those little smoothies happening.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The drinks are pretty cool. I've only done one smoothie so far, but
I've done
obviously
like
getting.
15. I filled up my whole card.
Oh wow. Yeah, I kind of tinkered with it and just kind of moved on, but it is cool. It reminds me of wasn't in Pikmin when you were collecting the juice. Was it Pikmin 3, I think? And like the juice would kind of swirl
Yeah.
together. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
it kind of
Hmm.
reminded me of that. Like it makes me hungry.
Yeah. Yes. And there's a you wouldn't have seen this then, Justin, if you've only done one smoothie, unless your one smoothie was this type of smoothie. But in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, we have the dubious food. There is
Yeah,
there is an equivalent. You can make an unfortunate smoothie.
unfortunately, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just not a good
Uh,
combo. I think it just gives you one heart or half a heart or something. So made a
uh,
couple of those. Um, and just sort of as an aside, while we're talking about smoothies, because I tested out my amiibo in the game. You can do 3 a day, apparently, 3 taps of different amiibo. So I tried out some amiibo, and they give you ingredients for the smoothies as well, like chilies. I think Link gave me some hot chilies. Zelda gave me some, maybe the cactus, the chill cactus, whatever it is. Mario did nothing, so it has to be Zelda related amiibo by the looks of it. But yeah, they do work. They do give you ingredients. And what about side quests? Because I noticed in the desert that really ramped up a lot. There were a lot more side quests happening. How are you guys finding those so far? Are you enjoying them, or too many, too distracting, not enough, too easy? What do you think, Justin
I didn't see any,
or
but
Kirk? You haven't seen any? It definitely ramps up in the desert. I would
yeah.
say. Did you find that, Justin?
did I miss some? Were there some before that first dungeon? Because I hate missing side
No.
quests.
Yeah, no, I don't think
Maybe
so.
not. Yeah.
I talked to everybody before the first dungeon, so I think
Yeah.
they kind of deliberately waited, I guess, to introduce those. But
Okay.
yeah,
Mm,
the desert,
mm,
like you'll see like exclamation marks above quite a few people, Kirk. So
mhm.
All right.
they come in fast and furious now.
Yeah.
But the side quests, I haven't. I think I've talked to some people with the exclamation points, but it's mostly just to get them in my little quest log, and then I can
Mm.
check them out later. But I haven't done any of them specifically. But,
Yeah, I've done a couple. I did the tumbleweed one and the one that wanted to see a whirlwind, like a little ghosty enemy. That was easy because I already had the ghost enemy. Well, it's not really a ghost, it's that little dervish dude, not the Tasmanian devil, Kirk.
yeah,
Yeah, no, there's plenty of side quests, which is just gives it a lot more, I guess, longevity as we're used to with these, especially any Zelda game really. That's part and parcel of what we expect, I think. Well, let's talk about the dungeons and the still world because I know we all love our dungeons, and I know that was a thing we've missed a lot, especially Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom brought it back. This is a top-down style Legend of Zelda title, so we need the dungeons, right? This is part and parcel of what we why we love the game, really. Justin, are you satisfied? I mean, you've only got one, and you're not quite up to the second, so it's a bit hard to judge. But
Yeah.
how did you find that first one?
Yeah, it was like seeing an old friend
Yeah.
after a long time. It was, yeah, I really did enjoy it. Even like the map, the
Hmm.
map
Hmm.
made me happy where you could still like you could pin things, kind of like you can. I don't know if you check this out, but on the overworld, there's even like a collectibles or something tab. I haven't quite figured it out,
Mm.
but there's like question marks on this. Like if you hit Y when you go into the map mode, there's like this four pieces of heart. It's like a checklist, and then there's like two that had question marks
There
on it. I'm like,
is. I
this.
just checked while you're talking. I did not know that. That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. So I don't. But the map is pretty slick. You can put pins on things, but even like the dungeon map was cool. How it like has lines that route to like okay this ladder. If you go down
Yeah.
here, then you end up here on this floor, or you know.
Hmm.
So that was kind of slick, and yeah, the detail of the map was really nice. I like that you could warp back. I love getting all the treasure chests in a dungeon,
Hmm.
and like
Same.
all the ones that I missed two of them, and they were both fairly close to like those warp points in there. So I was like, oh, this is cool. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've really been enjoying the dungeons, the keys, the and getting the boss key, just all of these trappings that I've missed in my dungeons. So
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, I love that. It's like seeing an old friend because it's like new and old together because it feels familiar. It feels, it feels like what we have grown up with and what we've played over the years, but it also feels fresh. It's like the best of both, I think, or I hope. What do you think, Kirk, in your dungeon experience thus far?
Yeah, I like the dungeons because I feel like I'm getting something done when I'm in the
Yeah.
dungeons. Like with a lot of the more recent Zelda games, there's a lot of meandering,
Hmm.
and what they kind of passed for is dungeons in the other games.
Mm.
You could just wander around forever trying to figure out what's going on, and that's fine because that's kind of what the games were about. But here, like, there's a progression to it, and you're getting things done. You're like, okay, I got the map. Like, all right,
Yeah.
now I got this key. There's just like a constant build as you're working your way up towards that giant boss lock that you got to get
Yeah.
done.
yeah,
So I like that whole progression of gameplay quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I had another thought, but I lost it again.
That's okay.
So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
we'll move
Well,
on.
we'll move on. Well, I mean, we've talked a lot about Echoes of Wisdom. I wasn't sure if it would take up the whole show, but it might very, very well at this point. But the still world itself, that kind of upside down world, um, what do you think? Like, it's so bizarre and not quite as scary as the depths, I don't think, but you walk past these petrified people. Um, yeah, how do you guys feel about the still world itself?
yeah.
Maybe
I've
just
Go
Justin.
ahead,
Yeah.
Justin. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, it is interesting. I kind of like the different angles of things when they had that
Mm.
section where the trees, the land was kind of on its side, and you could actually hop up the trees like a staircase. Basically, they were on their side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, so there's some interesting things they're doing in there. Yeah, it's not quite. It reminds me of the Twilight Realm a little bit, but um,
Mm. Mhm.
yeah, I think it's a cool little twist. I'm kind of interested to see how it'll play out. It sounds like we're going to be going into these rifts quite a bit, maybe alongside dungeons. I'm
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
wondering if we'll go into like, you know, how sometimes in Zelda games they'll have like maybe actually a dungeon that's fully in. I guess the first one was kind of fully in the still world, but it kind of gets brought back out. But like in Twilight Princess, there was like a whole dungeon just in the Twilight realm itself that you had to kind of do
Mm,
something in the late game. So I'm kind of
yeah.
curious to see, does Ganon have a stronghold there? Like you kind of defeat him, but he's like, oh well, I'm just going back to my main base here.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, and, we talked about this last week in anticipation of the game, who the villain was, and now that we've played at least the start of it, I mean, do you think Ganon he seems to be involved, right? But because he kinda snickered a little bit, he didn't really seem to care about going into
Mm,
the rift there at the start. So you think
yeah,
he's involved? Because Justin, I'm interested in your
I,
opinion because you went on the
yeah.
show last week, yeah.
I think he's got to be the. I don't know. I mean, it's possible there could still be some other. But with all the Link to the Past references, I have to figure this is Ganon being the main big bad. But there could still be some other like whatever species your little assistant is, the try thing.
Mm.
There could be some puppet master that's
Yeah,
part
true.
of that lives in the Rift world that's using Ganon as a puppet. I don't know, but
Yeah. We had a poll on YouTube last week after the show just to see what people thought about the villain. And most people did think it was someone completely new. 57% of
mm,
respondents said someone new, and then the other three were all equal. It was either Ganon with help from someone else, or Dark Link. So that was the responses that we got. So yeah, but Ganon seems, I think he's definitely involved somehow. Don't know how. I like that in the Rift, because in the first dungeon that, you go into the Rift, there's a whole thing there, and Tri and her friends are involved. It's a boss fight, etc. Without giving too much away. Then when you're in the desert, Justin, you'll know about this because you go into a rift separately and you think it's the dungeon, but it's not yet. It's like a
mm,
smaller rift, I suppose,
mm,
to find more of Tri's friends. And I thought, oh, it's just going to be the same formula. It's going to be another similar setup to how it was in the first dungeon, but it's not. You have to find them in a different way, which I thought was really neat. And then it's a separate rift entry to get to the dungeon itself. So they're varying it a little bit. I'm interested to see what happens next in terms of, obviously after this, I'll go to the Zora area and see what's happening up there. But yeah, it's super fun to explore. And did you think of your thought, Kirk, that you'd lost earlier?
I did. Thank you
Oh,
for
okay.
asking.
Yes.
You can now save your game anywhere in the dungeon, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yep.
That because that was always I so many times I missed things or didn't go to bed on time because I was not at a point where I could save my game and I didn't want to lose my
Mhm.
progress or like talk to those whatever they were so you could like warp back and forth. What were those birds called?
Uh,
Oh, yeah. I don't
Like
know. I know.
Dodo. There was some kind of something like that. I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah. I do like
But
the
yeah,
waypoints. They're good. The waypoints are handy. There's a
yeah, the
lot of them
waypoints
too.
are helpful saving
Mm.
everything. As much as I was complaining about the echoes slowing things down, almost everything else that they've done here really seems to speed things up. And
yeah.
I'm very
Mm.
happy about that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very cool. Do we have anything else we wanted to address? We've sort of got a good 10 minutes left, so we could talk about some other games. Do we want to say anything else about Echoes of Wisdom before we do mention other things? Any other final thoughts on our time with Echoes of Wisdom from either of you?
I'm sure we'll have more as we all dig deeper into it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. We can revisit next week. You good, Justin?
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
excited to play some more. I think, yeah, I'm getting that like that Zelda itch now of like not
Yeah.
kind of in it.
Yeah.
You're like, I just want like a good book or a good video game. You just want to
Yeah.
keep playing through
I know. I
it.
was finding that yesterday as well. I was smiling just at the start, right from the very beginning. I'm like, this feels good. This looks good. I'm very happy with it. So
Yeah,
definitely enjoyed
I
it.
like sitting at work or at the dinner table thinking, what am I going to do? Oh yeah, I've got a
Yeah,
Zelda game to play.
exactly. It's a great it's like Christmas every day after a Zelda game comes
It
out.
is, yeah. I love that they sprung this on us and that we have this to enjoy because we just weren't expecting this. And I think a lot of us have been kind of clamoring for a 2D Zelda. And I don't think any of us, expected it to be like this, but that's what we love about the franchise and Nintendo, that they give us these unexpected surprises. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely loving it. So we've got a little bit of time. Do we want to talk about level 5 events potentially? That was
Yeah.
a pretty interesting thing that happened during the week. Level 5 had their presentation, which was the Vision 2024 event. And I'm glad you're on, Justin, because I know you're a Professor Layton fan, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
big Lake fan, and Katie is as well. She was really
Yeah.
excited about it. So we watched basically the whole thing. Some games we weren't too interested, but Fantasy Life and Leighton and Deca Police are probably the ones that I was highlighting. Was
Mm-hmm.
interested in. But yeah, like you said, it was kind of the first big trailer. I mean, they've shown kind of some teasers for Leighton, but
Mm-hmm.
they actually showed a lot more gameplay this time. And Katie was really excited. She's like, oh, I just. It was kind of a bummer that they still just left it as 2025, which I think was the last time they had kind of a teaser trailer. It just said 2025.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. Yeah.
and and the fact that level 5 has now pushed Deca Police to 2026, it's like, oh, is this
Mm.
late 2025 or possibly early 2026 now? So anyways, it's always exciting to see more Leighton, but you're just like, oh, why can't this be like Echoes of Wisdom, where we hear about it and then 3 months later it comes out, or four,
Yeah.
You're spoiled
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I know, right? It's gonna be hard to go back to anything like that.
Yeah.
Level 5, yeah, they seem to be I don't know. They do seem to be delaying a lot of stuff recently. I mean,
Mhm.
Fantasy Life has been delayed multiple times. Now it's got was it April 2025? So at least because it was originally October of this year, which was next month. So we knew that got delayed. We didn't know when the new date was. It's been pushed back 6 months. I did. I mean, they're adding a lot to it. Apparently, they did a lot of testing, got a lot of user feedback,
Mhm.
and they're making it pretty much an open world experience, which is interesting. I
Mhm.
mean, I think it'll be good. I probably would be happy with it the way it was, but that's fine. That's fine. They
Yeah.
can make it bigger and better, and maybe more people will enjoy it. Maybe it also gets people talking about it, I guess. But how long has it been since we've had a Fantasy Life game? Sorry, I know we were talking about Leighton, but I just switched back. Sorry. For
It's,
example, same with Leighton though. That Leighton hasn't been around for a long time, so these games
yep.
kind of are older franchises now, especially Leighton, I guess. Yeah.
Well, if you remember, level 5 really kind of went away from console or handheld gaming systems.
Mm.
They went
Hmm.
full mobile for like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, it seemed like. And it
Yeah.
was only like kind of 2 years ago when they started to, and they announced a new Leighton and Deca Police and Fantasy Life. This is sort of like their comeback to, um, you know, classic gaming systems, because they
Mm.
really, they started porting all the Leighton games to mobile devices, and they just went kind of whole hog into mobile. And
Yeah.
kind of right as mobile was like, we had already gotten into that phase of mobile where it's like nobody wants to pay money for these, they're all free to play,
Mm. Hmm.
no game's even 99 cents, like. So it just seemed like a weird time for them to go so hard into mobile. um and then
Yeah.
so
Mm.
I'm really glad they're coming back out of that mode. Because yeah,
Yeah,
I
definitely.
miss their games.
Yeah,
Fantasy.
same. They
Oh,
they put all their eggs into one basket there, didn't they?
they did. Yeah.
Whereas at least Nintendo kind of dipped its toe into mobile, and
Yeah.
they obviously kept doing what they do best, which is the consoles and the games. And they've got Mario Run and Mario Kart Tour and
Mhm.
Fire Emblem, of course, Kirk. Even Dr. Moreau, which I lament the loss of that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, they didn't go all in,
Mhm.
which is a surprising move from Level 5, I think. But maybe I guess mobile was popular at the time, but
Mhm.
like you said, it's kind of changed, and now we're a bit more set on what we want from a mobile game. I don't like paying for mobile games. Like
Yeah. Mhm.
that's not fun. Yeah. So it's good to see them coming back. Um, yeah, I hope it does well. I guess the delays maybe is it similar to what Nintendo does where we're like, we just need a little bit more time to get this
Mhm.
right, you know, thanks for your patience kind of thing. Do you
Yeah.
think it's like that?
Yeah, and it did seem like they're adding some new gameplay abilities, right? Like, so based on the feedback, they add like mounts and stuff like that into Fantasy Life. And
Mm, hmm.
like they were
Oh
talking
yeah.
about. the delay, and they kind of were like, it's allowed us to add some more core features to the game that we were, that maybe they were considering cutting, right?
Yeah, like
So
making it easier to switch roles, I think, as well,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah, which is
that
which
was
is
really
good. That's a
cool.
good thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
switch on the fly, which is
Mhm.
cool. So Leighton, yeah, like you said, 2025. What date? What sort of period of time that is? Whether it's Switch 1 or 2, I suppose. Did they say that? Do we know? Do they
I'm
say
I
Switch
imagine it'll
officially?
be I imagine it'll be both, at that
Mm,
point. Like,
yeah,
it'll probably they're not going to want to leave all of those Switch 1 systems on the table that have already sold. Like, was the
yeah,
Switch 1's over 140 million, right? So,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think they have to release on the Switch 1 as well, and maybe there'll be a patch on Switch 2 or something, but
Hmm.
it'll probably be cross gen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was a nice presentation. Very exciting to see some of those trailers, especially Leighton for the first time, kind of like a proper trailer. Yeah, it gets you really excited and nostalgic for the older games. That was especially like on the DS. That's just such a DS memory for me. Playing those touchscreen games. We've probably got time for one more news item. Kirk, did you want to talk about I don't know, what is this? The Tecmo second Atelier game? Another
Yeah,
upcoming release? Yeah.
yeah, there's not a lot to talk about because they didn't reveal too much on it. I just found it very bizarre because,
Mm.
at the recent direct, they announced Atelier Yumiya, the Alchemist of Memories in the Envisioned Land,
Hmm.
which is a standard sort of Atelier game, is coming out in March. I think of March 21st, if I remember right, 2025. And then they just announced at Tokyo Game Show that they have a second Atelier game coming out. This one is Atelier Resleriana, the
Yeah.
Red Alchemist and the White Guardian. Um, I apparently it's set within like the same universe as Atelier Resleriana, Forgotten Alchemy, and the Polar Knight Liberator, which is a mobile game. I think it's
Hmm.
also available on PC. And from what I saw, it looks like that pulls a bunch of characters in from the whole series of Atelier games. They said this features a new protagonist, so it's set within that world, I suppose. But
Mm.
I don't know anything else about it. As a fan of Atelier, though, two games in 1 year.
Yeah.
Very happy about that. They did that 1 year with Fire Emblem. I think we got a Fire Emblem Switch game. We got a Fire Emblem mobile game. No, maybe it wasn't Switch. Maybe it was Wii. I don't know. And I can't remember what the other one was. Maybe the 3DS. All
Ah,
within like a quick chunk of time, and it was
cool.
the greatest year of my life.
Yeah.
Um, and Atelier is not going to match that, but as someone who enjoys the games, I'm sure there are a lot of fans out there. 2 new games in 1 year. Good news.
Absolutely. Yeah. Who wouldn't be happy about that? We need more Fire Emblem though, don't we? That's something that we don't get. Having it's like an eclipse almost, having three in 1 year. Like that's we normally don't get one a year, and then suddenly there's three a year. Like, how does that
Yeah.
happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, we need more of that. Yeah, well, we're playing a lot of other games as well, which we'll talk about next week. So I'm definitely excited to talk about the Plucky Squire, for example, which I'll get into next week, as well as Crossy Road Castle. Any games you want to tease us with, Kirk, for next week? If assuming that you're on, hopefully.
Actually, I won't be.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
the week
I'm
after.
going to be in Seattle.
Oh, okay. Fun.
Uh,
Have fun there. Isn't Nintendo based in Seattle? Is that where they're?
I was just looking to see if I was somehow going to be able to make my way over to NOA's headquarters. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll have some fun stuff to talk about in
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Hopefully. That'd be great. Well, I guess that brings us to the end of the show, unless anyone else has anything to add. Nothing from either one of you? No? That's
Nope.
okay. Thank you.
I need to get back and play Zelda.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, like we're itching to get back into Zelda. Yeah, no, it's been an absolutely fun discussion of all things Echoes of Wisdom. I think we're pretty in agreement that it's a fun new entry in the series that we're really enjoying. So we hope fans are too. We'd love to know your thoughts. Let us know what you think so far of the game. How far in are you? Have you finished it already? Did you speed run it? Justin, are you going to speed run this one? Or are you going to take your time with it? Because you sped run? Is that a thing? I guess so. It's past.
Sped
yeah.
speed run, sped run, sped
You
rand.
Yeah,
You-
like
you were-
uh,
yeah.
mostly with like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like I didn't want to do just all of the other. I didn't want to play the game for 200 hours or
Yeah.
300 hours,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
probably to see everything you have to. But with this style of Zelda game, I could see myself being a completionist. And what's nice is like
Mm-hmm.
you can probably finish it in 40 some hours. Like I don't know if you use that site, How Long to Beat.
Oh yeah. I haven't looked this
Sometimes
one up yet though. What is it saying for
yeah.
this one?
So it's saying like 20 some hours.
Yeah.
And then I think completionist is like 45. So
Okay.
I'm like, that's beautiful. Like my
Yeah.
speed run of Tears of the Kingdom was like 65 hours. So, yeah, I'm all for some shorter games, and like Kirk said,
Yeah.
it's already a better respecter of my time with some of the quality of life features it has too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. I'm so glad Nintendo's still making games like this. Um,
mhm.
yeah, absolutely. So, so cool. Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for joining me this week. As I said, listeners, please let us know your thoughts on the game and what you're playing. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We are on social media. You can join us on over at Twitter/X and Blue Sky and Mastodon. We're at Pure Nintendo. We're also our issues are out of the new magazine, right, Kirk? They've been distributed. Is that
Oh
correct?
yeah, I
Yeah,
hope everyone has them by now.
yeah. Hopefully they're in your
If
hands and
not,
you're
yeah.
reading them while you're listening. If not, I guess let us know, right? Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if you wanted to join us, excuse me, if you wanted to support us for the next issue, please jump on over to patreon.com/Pure Nintendo and we'll be getting to work on our next issue soon. In the meantime, thank you so much, everybody, and until next week, game on, everybody. Bye.
Yeah.